Thank you for being here. Perhaps really short for the people who do not know me. My name is Daniel. I work for Milliman, and I'm responsible for the data science within the Benelux region. So I'm not an actuary from background. I did not study any actuarial science. I do have a mathematical background with a combination of computer science. So my main responsibility in my work is try and see how can we implement data science techniques to help the financial and then mainly the insurance sector, and how can we help the actuaries or people working in an actuarial department to make their life easier, to take some tasks that we can automate, that we can improve out of their hands, so that we can use the minds of those brilliant people to do more heavy and more complex things. And that's definitely something that we would like to do. Of course, be busy with more complex mathematical problems, try and solve problems, try and find solutions. I'm here now to talk about a little bit about data. Also looking, of course, at the topic of the symposium, data-driven financial resilience, talking about digital innovation. I'm not going to dive depth into why and how data science can help drive digital innovation within the financial sector to help improve that, because that's something that in a way we know how to do that, and we know that we have to do it. What I do want to focus on now in the time that I have is on the data perspective, because what I see a lot from experience is that we have those really strong mathematical, analytical people working in different departments within insurance companies, pension funds, banks, or whatever financial company sometimes they're working. And they have really nice ideas. They want to improve the companies. They want to see how can we help this company grow while also trying to, find some interesting projects for yourself, interesting solutions to problems that you might see while working or while studying. A lot of the problems before they can actually start doing things like that is the data. So yesterday I talked a little bit about modeling and more in-depth about the technical aspects, but data itself needs to be combined with trust, right? If you want to try and innovate, if you want to try to create new models, if you want to try and add value to the company where you're working with or where you are going to work in the future, one of the things that you have to keep in mind is that you will not be able to have good impact with your models, with your analysis, if you do not build trust on the work what you're doing. And trust comes from different sides. It's not just you doing your work correctly and modeling correctly, but it's also having the foundation of the data that you're working with, that is good, that you can trust what you're working with is representative to what you're trying to achieve and what you want to model. So data, digital innovation, why is that important, right? And I think that's something that I can skip a little bit faster than other things. We all know that data is the backbone of our models and how we calculate. The quality in the end will be not just a nice to have, not just it is something that you can then take steps forward and actually go and continue and drive the innovation within the companies that you're working with or that you're going to work. In general, all the data that you might be working with is important. You have, of course, your internal data, your standard data if you work with in an insurance company where you work at, with the way how we would like to in modeling, our problems, finding solutions. But in the current setup, what you see now in a lot of countries, and I think you see it in throughout the world, that more and more data gets available, climate data as well, into digital innovation, data-driven financial resilience is the quality of your data. But the quality of your data, there's not one fixed standard. I think it's sometimes what it means is that your data is fit for use. It might be fit for use for one use case, but not directly fit for use for another use case. And I think that's something that you have to keep in mind, and it's something that we as, or you guys as actuaries, me working in an actuary firm, that we have the experience, especially when you're going to be a little bit longer in the field, but also with the knowledge from use cases, from experience that you will see in the university, is you will at the end have a feeling of what data do I need, what data points are relevant, and when would my data be fit for use. It's not going to be perfect. If it's going to be perfect, it would be awesome. But I think it's not going to be perfect in most cases, because that's part of how we work in the more practical sense, because now the data is normally not the highest priority within companies. So there are different data quality dimensions, and these are some of them, but you can even extend it to more and split it up to different dimensions if you would like to. So, you know, your accuracy, so is my data correct? Am I missing data? Is it consistent? So is the meaning the same over the timeline that you have, especially if you work with, let's say, time series data? Could be that a meaning of a data field has changed due to policy changes within the company or whatever reason. Do we have all the data that we need? But of course, no duplicates. Like I mentioned, you can even extend it and split it out even more detailed. But these are things that you should keep in mind when you go from. And I think there's a big difference between having a lot of data and a lot of data that's available within your company for modeling. You want to have a data set that adds value. And when it adds value, you can say, okay, I might have a data asset which I can use within my modeling, which I can use to actually create value. And that's something it's also mentioned here, right? A data asset is organized and valuable as it have owners, someone who's responsible for the data, and not just we store it in our database, you can find it there, good luck. So it's moving from data within your storage to actual strategy. So how can we use the data to add value? How can we use this data to model better and to get better results when we're actually using the data for our models? When you think about data assets, adding value, adding quality, and how to make it structured, how to make it organized, and how to make it a data asset compared to a data set. And that starts with definition. You know, having clear what do you want to store, how do you want to store it, what are my definitions of my data fields, and making sure that it's consistent. So certain structured data helps the company to do different analysis multiple times. So it's repeatable analysis, but it's also, and it's something that I mentioned yesterday, is when you deliver a model, so if you would do a pricing model, or if you would do, a churn model, if you look more, let's say more data science related, what we would normally do is you have your data validation checks, your quality checks, whatever you want to do. You have your model evaluation, and then you hand over your model. But within the model validation, it's really important, especially for regulators, that it's clear what you're doing. So the more you document and the more you make it repeatable, the easier it is to trust what you guys are doing. So if we would create, let's say, a pricing model with the analysis, with all the documentation, and we give it to someone here, in theory, that person should be able to reproduce one-on-one the results that we are getting in our pricing model and within our evaluation. If you can do that, then you can create trust with them from the model owner towards the business. With that trust, they will, in the end, accept your models more easily, accept your changes more easily, and therefore, the step towards innovation, having new models, having new techniques, having new solutions to problems that perhaps at this moment you do not know yet, will be a lot easier because you can generate trust, because the data is correct, because the steps around the modeling and everything is reproducible, is ideally automated as well, right? So, also looking at time-wise, I think I need to go a little bit faster, but you have a data lifecycle which might help looking into how to work with your data. So there are different points, and even here are different options how to look at it, right? So you have a moment where you capture your data, validate your data, store your data, transform it, use it, and then you have the report of whatever you're trying to do with the data. And in every step, it would be a nice option to have data quality checks, data controls set up, ideally in an automated way, which makes sure that when you work with the data that you have in the, let's say, use phase here, that you can trust the data. If you can trust the data, it would be easier to continue as well to, in the end, generate trust towards your business. When you look at business and then the data used to generate value for them, is data needs owners like products and capitals and other things within the company. So it's not just I have my IT department which has engineers which store my data in databases. If you want to create data assets, if you want to create value and help your own process of developing the models that you're working with, is you need to try and see who is not just my model owner, so who owns the model that I'm working with, but also who's the data owner, who's responsible for the data that you are going to use, who is responsible for how the data is stored, how it is cleaned, how it is checked. If you do that, if you see that's been set up in companies that you're working for, that you're going to work, it will definitely help within the entire stream of modeling, auditing, and even the validation of the different sections within the company. So, what you see as well in projects that we are working with is that data quality, even with the bigger insurers, for example, in Europe, is that data quality is always an issue. And sometimes they're a little bit further than in other companies, and sometimes smaller companies are further than bigger companies. It depends also a lot on where the focus is within the company. Do they have someone on board who is, let's say, in management team, who is responsible for certain sections in the company that sees the value of data? And there, I think one of the first takeaways is, however you want to start it, is start small. Start small, start to see where can I automate some first steps. Let's say you're working on a pricing or on an analysis project, and you can see it's something that I'm doing every quarter, every month, and you're doing it manually in Excel, or you're doing it manually in R or whatever programming language tool you're using. Try and see, can I automate there certain steps to check the data that I'm using with, because that will definitely, one, of course, save you time to do other things that are sometimes nicer than your standard quality checks. But secondly, it will definitely help the flow throughout the entire company into get more speed up within the development phase, and therefore try and see how can we innovate more and put more time in innovation and not time in trying to clean up the mess of the data that actually I have in my database, for example. So try to start small, create version control, automate simple checks, and document, of course, things that you're doing. So then to close off is, the title of my presentation was From Data to Trust to Innovation. So I think you need to start, of course, with generating trust, and generate trust comes from different sections. It comes from how you model, how you document your modeling steps, how you document your results, but also, of course, how the data has been checked, how the data is being used, how the data is being processed. So when you generate trust within the company on how you work, on what you've used for your work, and also the results that you're getting, if you get trust, then you can go to innovation, because then it will be more easy to get that flow running where you have your data, where you have your trust, where you have your innovation. Without good data, you don't have trust. If there's no trust within the company about your data, about your models, there will not be any option for innovation within the different companies that you're working with or that you're going to work with. So looking at trust, of course you have quality, and then next step is trying to actually do it and not just stand still. Okay, we need to fix it, because that's what I see a lot as well. A lot of people think, okay, we need to try and fix our data. We're going to fix it for this one project, and then we stop. So we need to try and see how can we start small, but automate where possible, and then see how we can take the step further to more innovation within the actual companies. So I'm not sure if these slides are going to be shared, but we did one paper about data quality in the insurance sector, more about how machine learning and AI can be used to automate certain data quality steps. So if the slides will be shared, you can click on it and then read the paper if you want like to. For now, I think then this is my short presentation about more data quality and how you can go from data to trust to innovation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Daniel. Later on, we're going to have Q&A session, so allow the audience to write their questions. Thank you so much. So if you have any questions, please kindly reserve your questions. Next up to our timetable, we're going to have session specifically for questions and answers. And Mr. Daniel will be here and will be glad to respond to your questions. So tunaendelea mbele zaidi. Wakati tunaendelea mbele zaidi, we have a very interesting discussion coming up, na tayari unaweza kuona jinsi ambavyo panelists wamejiandaa kwa ajili ya discussion hii. Sasa wakati niko break, lakini pamoja na break nilikuwa na Dr. Ando ambaye ndiye atakuja hapa kwa ajili ya kumoderate session. So kabla sijamkaribisha Dr. Ando Ngwise, Dr. Ando Ngwise akaniambia MC katokisha kwenye introduction yako umetunyima kidogo baadhi ya vitu. Umwambia tu hawa ndugu zako kwamba ni MC lakini pia una background ya actuarial. Akatamani tuweze kushare experience kwa ajili ya kuinspire young generation. So kwa heshima ya Dr. nitafanya hivyo. Mimi nimemaliza actuarial science 2016. Nadhani Dr. hapa kipindi kile wametutangulia Madam Agnella, wao ndo first batch bila shaka. Dr. Agnella ni first batch ya kwanza kabisa, na wamefanya kazi kubwa sana katika kupambania hii actuarial thing. Zamani by that time nadhani atakuwa ameshashare hizo story nyingi, ni kwamba hata ukimwambia mtu unasoma actuarial, wengi walikuwa wanafanisha kama na aqua science, kama mambo ya marini, uvuvi hivi vitu kama hivyo. Kwa ilikuwa kazi ngumu sana, lakini wale watu wamepambana sana. Ile batch ya kwanza, ya pili, ya tatu wamepambana sana. Kwa hiyo baadaye tukaingia sisi, tukapata nafasi. By that time kwanza tunafurahi, najisikia niko nyumbani nikisimama nikaona mamia ya watu. Kipindi kile ilikuwa actuarial science na intake ya watu 20 mpaka 25. Kwa hiyo by that time unafanya application kwenye ile system ya vyuo TCU, unaingia kwenye application unaona tayari kuna application 3000. Alafu pale unaambiwa kwenye hii course unatakiwa watu 25. Kwa hiyo unaweza kuona jinsi gani ambavyo nafasi zilikuwa chache, lakini sasa hivi tunashukuru kwenye impact ambayo wanaifanya viongozi, tunaona matunda na kwamba course inaendelea kukua. Leo ukitaja actuarial science, ukisema mimi ni actuary sio kitu kigeni. Kwa baada ile course by that time kupitia, sitaacha kuwashukuru hao watu, Dr. Ando Ngwise, Dr. Agnella na wengine wengi sana Hao watu walitufungulia milango, wakatutangaza kwenye institutions mbalimbali. Leo tunaona tuna institutions nyingi zimekuja hapa, walitufungulia milango wa watu, wakatutangaza sana. Na katika kututangaza kwao kulifanya iwe rahisi sisi kupata ajira by that time. Kwa kipindi kile tunamaliza, nadhani kulikuwa kuna programs mbalimbali za Big Four entities. Kwa hiyo tulikuwa tuna hizi PwC, EY, KPMG, Deloitte and the likes. Kwa hiyo kupitia jinsi ambavyo wao waliotangulia waliipa thamani industry ya actuarial, na sisi wengine ikawa rahisi kupenya. Kwa hiyo baada ya pale tukapata nafasi kwenye hizo Big Four. Personally niliingia Ernst & Young, EY, kama auditor. So I've been working as an auditor for 4 years, kwa miaka 4. Ili tupa nafasi ya kuweza kuona industries nyingine, kuona finance zinafanyikaje na makampuni mbalimbali. So tumeaudit telecoms, banks, industries nyingi. Baada ya pale kufanya miaka 4 kazi. So by that time yote nilikuwa ni MC. Nilikuwa nafanya kazi mchana, asubuhi mpaka jioni, nikitoka na dress up naingia ukumbini. Kwa hiyo ni kitu kinawezekana, unaweza ukafanya vyote kwa pamoja, na mpaka sasa nafanya vyote kwa pamoja. Kwa hiyo baada ya pale nikatoka, ikatupa experience na exposure, tukapata nafasi ya kwenda kwenye industry sasa kufanya practice. Nimefanya kwenye microfinance kwa miaka mingine 7, nadhani miaka 7, na pale nilikuwa nafanya kama head of products. Kwa hiyo tulikuwa tunafanya product development, na nilikuwa nafanya kazi na taasisi moja inaitwa Platinum Credit Limited, one of the biggest microfinances, nadhani wengi tunaisikia na kuifahamu. Kwa hiyo actuarial imetusogeza huko kote, na mpaka nilipoamua sasa niende nikafungue kampuni zangu of course, ambazo zinafanya consultants kwenye recovery pamoja na debt collections kwenye hizi entities, banking sector pamoja na MFI industry kwa pamoja. So pamoja na hiyo pia tuna events company ambayo inadili na hizi events, na yote haya tunayafanya, lakini bado una uwezo wa kufanya kile ambacho alikuwa anakizungumzia yule mwakilishi wa UNDP alipokuwa amesimama, Mr. John, akisema kwamba unaweza ukatafuta pia fursa za entrepreneurship. Kwa hiyo yote yanawezekana. Unaweza ukafanya kazi za actuarial, lakini pia haikufungi, kama alivyosema actuarial is everywhere. Unaweza ukawa kwenye bank, unaweza ukawa kwenye microfinance, kwenye insurance, kwenye pensions, kwenye kila sehemu inawezekana. Kwa hiyo bado hata wewe unaweza ukawa actuary, lakini pia ukafanya part time kwenye mambo mengine. Pamoja na hiyo pia kusoma na kujifunza hakuna mwisho. Kwa hiyo kupitia auditing firm pia sikufanikiwa kufanya certifications za actuarial. Nilidiversify kidogo nikaingia kufanya CPA 2019, nadhani nimefanikiwa kukamilisha. Kwa hiyo nadhani Dr. Ando, kwa ufupi nadhani hicho ndio ambacho naweza nikashare na ndugu zangu wa actuarial science. Mungu awabariki sana. Sasa tunasonga mbele.